Hello, Dominic. Welcome to Inside the Industry. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I can't wait. It's going to be so fun.
We are honored. I have been watching you on Glow Up Season 1 and 2. And when I tell you, you make the show for me. I mean, it's a phenomenal show. Val is a legend, but your personality, everything you bring to it, I was like, I want him to judge me for everything that I'm doing. Whatever I have going on, just give me the tea. Because you also do, I mean, my God, you've been doing the 2 full seasons like we've talked about. I know you have to be serious sometimes and really lay down the knowledge and give these, you know, contestants some true hard knocks, if you will. But you do it in such a lovely way. And I love the spirit of the whole show in that way, where you guys really do hone in on these upcoming MUAs, as you guys call it, which I love it. The MUAs, I'm obsessed.
Yeah, I mean that was there was a couple of meetings about that.
Was there?
Yeah,
I love it.
Do we call them MUAs? Do we call them what do we call them?
What do we go with?
Yeah, what do we go with? And yeah, it's really interesting because you know, it's a difficult.
It's like a balance.
First off, well, the thing is, first off, you're talking about art. You're talking about someone else's interpretation of something.
Yeah.
So you can't. Yes, you can give a personal stance on whether you like it or not. Like, does this appeal to me or does it not? Like all art, but that doesn't necessarily help or develop the MUAs.
Right.
So what you have to be is really specific. Mm-hmm. So there is absolutely no point in saying, you know, yes, I love it, it's great. Well, yeah, but why do you love it?
Exactly.
Like, what is it that you love? Mm-hmm. And if you don't like it, then why? What is it that you don't like? And is that something that is physically possible to change?
Right.
If you can't change it because it's personal taste, well, then that's not helping them either. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those, what I love most about the show is that, yes, we take it seriously because this is people's lives. We're not just,
right.
You know, it's their careers, it's their lives, it's their livelihood, it's what they want to do, it's their passion. And you don't want to crush it, but at the same time, you have to be realistic. Right. And at the same time, it's makeup.
I always say, I'm like, guys, it is supposed to be fun. It's creative. We're in a field where like we can judge it. And I like that you say that because to be honest, I've always teetered between the line with makeup shows, other than like heavy special effects where there are things that I feel like can be black and white wrong. It's like, how am I supposed to tell this person that's not really good? I've always wondered, like you're saying, art is so subjective. So as judges, or even me, when I'm scrolling on Instagram, I'm like, I don't like that. That's not good. That's good. I'm like, who am I to say? I don't know. Who, like, somebody might love the things I don't have taste for. So
yeah, well, I think, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's one of those sort of, you know, it's I think what's helped, okay, just sort of, you know, break it down a little bit. I think what helped was having experience within training, within
I was going to say educators, teachers must have some sort of like middle ground with it, right?
Yeah, because, you know, having a you know, not everyone, I mean, we've all we've all been there. We've all been there backstage, and you've had a key artist or a stylist or someone just turn around and go, I don't like it.
Yeah. That is not. Yes.
And you're like, great.
What do I do?
Yeah. You know? Yeah. But you then have people that you work backstage and they say, you know, it's the classic, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like,
let me
okay, you know, you might want to consider,
right,
you know, and I think that really, it is a softer, softer approach. Yes, sometimes you have to just say it as it is.
Right.
It's
That this shit
rubbish.
isn't aesthetically pleasing. It doesn't complement the model.
Yeah.
Like there's so many factors that really can't just come off a little. It doesn't present well. Period.
Yeah.
Whether taped or not.
And you gotta rip it off
Yeah.
like a band-aid. And if
Yeah.
it, yes, it hurts.
Yes, it
It
does.
hurts.
It can.
It hurts because you are putting your passion and your time and your energy into this thing.
Right. Yeah.
And so when then someone turns around and says, I don't like it, then it's hurts. But you know what? We talk a lot about this. Well, I mean, I talk a lot about this with sort of new artists, about removing there's almost like an ownership, this sort of, yes, we have to put energy and we have to put sort of our passion and our soul into what we're doing. Otherwise it's a bit flat, you know. But at the same time, you have to also remove this idea that this is the greatest thing that is ever going to happen.
Because what pressure too. If everything I put out I thought was the highest of calibers, it's going to be life-changing, pioneer, everyone's going to think it's just this amazing, incredible moment, and you're like, it doesn't, that's I wouldn't be able to handle that pressure. Like everything I put out has to be untouchable. That's unrealistic.
No, exactly. And you have to think to yourself, sometimes it's just a red lip. Right. It's not, you're not going to change someone's life.
Right.
You're not Doctors Without Borders. This is purely just a red lip that looks kind of good.
Yes.
And yes, you can spend half an hour on that red lip.
Right.
Or you can spend 5 minutes and get the same result and move on, because you're going to do another red lip tomorrow. So why does this one have to take all your energy that you then need a week off to recover? So there's these balances, and I think that's where sometimes younger artists within the industry, they don't know these balances.
Right.
That some jobs need your full attention. Other jobs need your attention, but don't give them everything.
Right. No, truly. Yeah. And I feel like when you're on those sets, and I love the scenarios that you guys bring these MUAs on, where you can tell. I mean, the sets with Rankin and you guys are like shooting, and it's like, I'm stressed watching. I'm like, he doesn't like that. You need to hurry up and change it. Like, something. There's a little bit higher pressure when you're understanding like the read of the room. But there are some sets where you're like, I can just kind of let my ego go away. I can test some stuff out and know that maybe if I willfully like mess up, I could, play it a little bit more and not feel like what the product needs to be for whatever the occasion has to be so on. So sometimes at least so then you don't feel so exhausted all the time. Like you're saying, we don't have to be 100 all the time.
Yeah, well, and I think the way that the show is set up is that very, very much, very often in the beginning, and actually quite a number of the real world challenges, be it an advertisement or theater or a prosthetic or whatever, the idea of it is that you just have to do what you're asked.
Right.
And at the beginning, they don't hear that. They're like a kid in a candy store thinking, I need to show them all bells, all whistles, add a bit of tinsel, add a bit of glitter. Let's, bring in the band.
Yes, like, let me show them what I got here. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, no.
Pump the brakes. I know.
They've asked you to do this.
Yeah.
Just do that, you know? Because then the following day, we then do the big creative thing, and that's when you bring it. And it's, and it's one of those, when we did the show, when we initially did the show, well, actually, even before we did the show, so yeah, when Val and I sort of had initial meetings about, like, we knew each other well.
Yeah, better question. Yeah, how did it even, because I feel like you're going to go there. How did this gig even come about
Oh
for
my God,
you?
don't even.
First of all,
Like,
to even get you there in the first place. Because also talking of judging, this will kind of be a two-part question, is not only to get the opportunity, but they clearly want to put you in a position to be able to judge and have a keen enough eye to be like, your caliber of artistry, you're willing and able to judge people. You know what I mean? You have the clout to be able to come in and say, yeah, I know what's good or not. You know what I mean? So that's
yeah.
two things. So I mean, I guess start with telling us how that came about. But
Well, how it came about was, there's a long story.
I
There's a
love
long
it.
story, or there's a kind of a. I mean, one thing that you should know is that there's never really a short story. There's just
Yeah.
a longer story. Or
Yeah.
a long story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll try and keep it really brief.
Yeah. You can give us
and
whatever
bullet
you feel.
points. Yeah. I'll try and keep it down to just bullet points. So, um, I just turned 40.
Oh,
Well, no, many years ago, but I had just
okay.
turned
Yes.
40.
Then, yeah.
Yeah, back then I had just turned 40.
Yes.
And there's this weird thing that it's one of those things that when you're sort of younger,
Mhm.
and older people say to you, I wish I had the confidence in my 40s that I had, but I wish I had the confidence that I've got in my 40s
Mhm.
with the passion and the drive that I had in my 20s.
Yep.
And it's like, oh God. And you're just like,
What
oh,
a dream. We all wish.
yeah.
What?
Well, that's the thing. And then suddenly you hit 40 and it's like, oh my God, it's so true. And it was one of these weird things that I kind of realized
Mhm.
through my 30s that I was starting to almost feel empowered. Empowered about myself, empowered about my ability.
Yep.
I was letting go of anxieties that were holding me back.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I got to 40, and a job came in which was going to be amazing. Yes, it was. My cat's agreeing with me.
We agree.
Yeah. Yeah. There's this job came in that was going to be amazing, but I allowed outside influence to cloud my judgment, to make me not necessarily believe I was good enough.
Yeah.
And I kind of, it slipped through my fingers, and in a good way, because if I had have done that, I wouldn't have been able to do Glow Up. So it all kind of came together.
Yeah,
but what it did was, it afterwards, I was so angry with myself that I had allowed this situation to be something that, and so then all of a sudden I got a message on Instagram from one of the producers saying, we're looking for judges for this TV show, and we're doing some casting, and would you be interested in applying? So they found me, basically.
Wow.
But they had gone to a lot of people. I don't know who they went to.
Yes, right?
Like, I would be fearful to know who they went to.
No.
And I know they went to a lot. And they had a few different ideas of who they wanted to put together.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And but this time I didn't tell anyone. So I just thought, you know what, I've got nothing to lose.
You didn't tell anybody
happy
about you even getting asked, you're saying. You didn't tell anybody about the opportunity arising.
No.
I'm gonna keep it on the low until like I know that this is like a thing.
Yeah, like I didn't, when I say I didn't tell anyone, I didn't tell my husband. I didn't tell
You're like, I'm locking at this time.
anyone. There was no like,
nobody needs to know. Yeah.
Because I just thought, you know what, like, I'm happy. I'm really happy.
Yeah, you didn't need that outside influence.
My job.
Right.
Exactly. I'm happy in my job. I'm happy at home. I'm like, everything's comfortable.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy. If this doesn't happen, it doesn't matter.
Right.
I'm not losing out. Like,
yeah.
I'm not missing out because I am happy.
Yes.
But that didn't mean that I wanted to tell everyone, because I didn't want to then, have to call them up and say, well, I didn't get it.
I know,
You know,
I know. I'm learning that myself to preserve
yeah,
of
yeah,
things before, just because it's exhausting to kind of go through the whole withdrawal process, not only by yourself, but now with 10, 20 other people. It's like, okay,
yeah.
I respect.
And I kind of realized, you know, instead of asking everyone for their opinion and their advice and then be clouded by that, I thought, actually, you know what I got to do is actually just trust them. Like these people that are going to be sort of judging me, that are going to be doing the casting, they're the ones that are going to tell me if I'm good or not.
Right.
So let me just go with that. And that's kind of what happened. So I kept going for these castings, and I swear I never thought I never thought it was going to actually happen. Never thought I'd get the job. But all the time I was like, well, I've never done a casting.
Right.
Like,
For
you know,
a
our
judge,
job.
I've never even heard. I didn't even realize there was a casting period. But then you
Yeah,
remember, like, yeah, it's still reality TV. Like, yes, it's still,
yeah.
energy, personalities, but I had no idea you even had to go through that process.
Yeah, no, I went through casting. So I was doing, and the funny thing was that I was doing castings whilst it was also Couture Fashion Week. So I was, had all these casting books in, but like one was booked in, and I had literally an hour before I had to leave
No.
to get in the cab to go to the Eurostar. And then I had another one whilst I was in Paris. So I then had to sort of sneak up to my room at the, you know, and do the casting whilst I was in Paris. And it was, because I was trying to be sneaky because I didn't want anyone to know.
Right. It's a bit chaotic. Isn't
Yeah. And so in the end, but like I went through all this sort of stuff, and then, but all the way through they kept saying, you know, what about Val? What about Val Garland? And I was like, babe, you've got to seriously stop talking about Val Garland, because there was zero chance of Val doing this.
Oh my
Like,
God. Who would have
Val
thought?
Garland is like the queen
I
of
mean,
makeup. Why do you think that there's an opportunity that you're going to get her? Give up,
yeah,
you know?
totally.
Genuinely. So, but little did I know they'd already got her.
Oh my God.
And,
They were trying to keep game on you. They were like, "What
yeah.
about Val?" Imagine you were like,
Yeah.
"Later,"
And they
and
were
they're
like,
like,
they kept saying sort of like, you know, so do you know Val? And I was like, yeah, I do know her, because you know, weirdly, she was the, I mean, how lucky am I? She was the key artist on the very first London Fashion Week show I ever did.
"Stop it."
And of course, I didn't know who she was.
Right at that time, right? Oh,
Yeah, I'm just like, there's this lady telling me my eyeshadow doesn't look like the models, and I'm telling you now, it's identical.
oh my God, that is hysterical.
You know,
Yeah,
yeah. And I'm just like, she is mean.
yeah.
You know. But anyway, so over the years, I did more and more work with her, and then I got, you know, as my career with Mac progressed, and I got higher up the chain with that, you know, it got to the point where certainly for the last 7 years, I was basically put with her. Anytime she did a show, I was always there with her,
Wow.
to support her from the Mac point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, we you know, I wouldn't even say that we were friends, because we weren't friends. We were colleagues, and we
Totally.
worked together. But we had a good relationship, and we had a lovely relationship, a fun relationship. We could joke together, and we would gossip together. You know, we would go to a test. There's a particular designer that before the test even starts, you'll be sat there for maybe 4 or 5 hours, and so we just get ourselves comfortable. She's like, come on, sit down. And you know, I'll be sat there with her having a gossip, and like a proper
Yeah.
proper sort of like, hang on, get my cup of tea, like a
So we were sitting.
wow. So we, you know, and it was lovely, and
Yeah.
so then when
Oh.
the final casting was, then I had to do a casting with her.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't tell me who it was with. They just said, so we need you to, unfortunately, the makeup artist we're also looking at, she can't come to the office, so we're going to have to do it in their home.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, okay. And then they said where the home was, and I was like, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know exactly who you're talking about, because one of the things is that sometimes, you know, part of the job is that you have to sometimes go to these artists' house, or you have to kind of drop things off, or meet someone who's going to meet you there, and you know all that. So as soon as they said the area, it was like, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Wow.
So then it was just really fun, and we were going through a magazine, we were being a bit shady and sort of, you know, liking it, not liking it, you know, arguing over what we liked and what we didn't, and that was it. And I didn't know that was it. I just left, and it was about 2 weeks later I got the call to say that I got the job, and then I had to tell everyone.
And then I have to spread the word. I need them to and
but even then I didn't tell my mum, because my mum, you know, if I told my mum, it would be all over the news by lunchtime.
My mom's like, I need to put my baby's face everywhere. I'm like, relax, slow it.
Yeah, I know. She has this, because like when I told her that I got the job as the senior artist at Mac, she was telling everyone that I was running the show. It's like, no, Mum.
Yes, no.
Yeah. So anyway, so I kept it again really a little quiet, and then we did the show, and we ended the first season we did, and we ended it on, oh God, I can't even remember when. When would it have been? Probably
first season or the very last season when it ended?
The very first season. We finished the first season, I want to say in about the 23rd, 24th of September.
Okay.
And the very following day, both Val and I had to then get on the train to go to Paris. So this is the thing, they film in September, in September. So, you know, you kind of, you start filming, and then it's London Fashion Week, and they want to get filming within London Fashion Week as well. Then they film more during Milan, and then we go off to Paris, and sometimes we then go back after Paris. So we're literally, for the whole like maybe 6 weeks, we're just completely
full. There a reason why they would choose to do that, knowing who you guys are, knowing that you're most likely going to be involved in these fashion weeks? Like, what a heavy schedule. I mean, like you said, some of the real challenges you've brought them into fashion shows, it seems. So that's convenient in itself, but for your guys' schedule, that's some heavy duty months piled up.
Yeah, I mean, I think for them, it aids for authenticity, because we can then go to Fashion Week. So, which is sort of a big part of, you know, well, it's not a big part of every makeup artist's job, but it's a heavily influential moment for a makeup artist, even if you aren't in fashion or sort of doing Fashion Week. Fashion Week, in a sense, allows the creativity and the influence of everything else. So they want to utilize that, but it was sort of like, we did sort of kept saying, you know, I mean, you know, we could do like, you know, like America's Next Top Model, they fake Fashion Weeks.
Yes.
Fake a Fashion Week, and they were like, no. No, like, okay. But so yeah, we went straight up.
I'm sorry, they don't have you Monday through Friday though, do they? Is your shooting schedule, when you guys are actually actively shooting, is that every day, or you guys must have decent breaks, it seems?
Sometimes it really depends on the schedule of when they can, you know, because it's not like they can just say, right, so this day we're going to go to Fashion Week, this day we're going to go to Theatreland, this week we're going to drop by a film production and do this and this. So it's like, you know, they reach out to as many people as they can, and they get back when possibilities are, and then we literally have to sort of juggle it around to sort of put it together. So sometimes we're working back to back, other times we're working with like a day or 2 or 3 days in between.
Contestants wise though, we don't see them living in like a house together, I don't think, ever. So they must just go off to their own quarters, right? As far as like,
they all live in a house. They all live in a really lovely house.
Well, thank God. I was gonna say.
But it's really well set up because in the house they then, because on down we call them dark days. So when there's no filming, the contestants are then, the contributors, I should say,
Right. Yep.
not contestants. The contributors are then they're still working because they are then working on the next creative brief. So they're doing research, they're looking into things, they're doing practice runs.
Okay.
So they're constantly being sort of pushed.
Yeah.
You know, but for us, it's a little bit more easier that we have, like, you know, we have a day off. Well, have a day off, but I'm still working full time at Mac at the same time. So I'm
How easy are we talking? Yeah.
juggling everything in between that as well. So it's a busy couple of weeks. But because of COVID, we've not been able to film this September. So it's been pushed by a couple of months. So we're hoping to try and get some dates in for the early part of next year.
You know what? That would actually be kind of interesting if it did get shot even in COVID times, because then as MUAs, seeing how they have to perform in PPE with all their organization and kind of moving about that way, because for all we know, this could be going quite some time.
On.
Practices that we've had to take, not only as personal makeup artists and with our kid and how we're, you know, actually applications and stuff, it will be interesting to see it in live form on a show where, you know, they're sectored off, they have their, if it's capable, I mean, it would be nice to see it. I think it would give a lot of people some great education with it for sure.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I think what's interesting is in season 1, there was an artist called Matthew who had studied in Japan. And so he wore a face mask. And we were like,
what are you doing?
Look at him. What's he doing?
Now right. Yeah. I have a whole staff.
Yeah.
I have one for every day.
Yeah, slightly awkward. But no, it's like the whole, when we then, I mean, because the thing is with the whole show, it was so not what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting, you know, and I still don't, in a way, you know, if I kept thinking, even after when they filmed the first one, it's like, okay, so if this doesn't get picked up for a second time, like, it's not my job. Right. Like, this isn't my job. And I think I'm very lucky and I'm very fortunate the fact that my job is global senior artist at MAC Cosmetics. Right. So that I don't have to, there's no pressure on me to make it out that I am this sort of TV judgy person that, you know, because I think there is this expectation that if you're on the tele, then you're a famous person, and if you're a famous person, then you live this extravagant lifestyle, and you live in a big house, and you know, you have a flash car, and you know, all this sort of stuff. And it's like, well, the reality is that's not me. Right. Like, it is 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks out of my life
that's where I'm
that is happening, and every day in between, and also before and after, this is my life. I'm working in an office, I'm having Zoom calls about, you know, mascara, and I'm having, you know, sort of, I'm working with artists from the shop floor, you know, giving them tips and tricks and advice and sort of coaching and, to be honest, mentoring. And
that says a lot about you, I think, and your character, of how you carry yourself and what you view of yourself and how you are. And like you had said, talking about where you're at in your life, because I think there would be some people who get this opportunity, become a judge on a show, and then want to move in a certain way afterwards. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it is a nice thing to see that you don't wear that on your chest. You're not like, I am the guest, you know, I'm the judge of, you don't do that. So it's nice.
No, and that's
cool. And it's just like, oh yeah, it's just a part of my career. And on top of that, I do all of these wonderful things. And that's just one of the amazing additives and opportunities that I have. And I think that's a beautiful, healthy way to look at it, because it could go to people's head very quickly.
Yeah, and I think it's very much, I mean, it's lovely that you say that, but sorry, I've got to let the door open, so that
let her out.
there's one cat one side of the door and one on the other, and they're now just sort of like, but my buddy, the person that I fight with all the time, that I really can't stand to be around, he's on the other side of the door.
Let him out.
Yeah, let him out so I can ignore him for the rest of the day. it's an incredible opportunity, and it's almost like the opportunity came from me having an opportunity to do this job with Mac.
Mm-hmm.
But how do I say it?
You have this.
It's almost kind of like just being very, I don't even want to say the word humble. It's just about being
Present, would you say?
well, just a bit real.
Yeah.
Just be real.
Yeah.
It's like you get those artists that, and we all know them artists that sort of get a sniff of working alongside a celebrity, and next thing they are, oh my God, like we're besties. And but it's like, no, you're not.
Right.
You are
the
a worker.
Yeah.
You work for them.
Yeah.
You're not your best. You might gossip and you might have a giggle and you might have fun, but you're there to paint their face and you're there to go home.
Right.
That is your job. And
thought, oh, when I don't now want to paint your face, are they still keeping you around? Are they still your friend? Like, they have to realize these things of you take out one element and does it still stand? Some do, but some others don't.
Yeah, and they will not return your phone calls when they found someone else.
Right.
And that's the reality of the world that we live in. So for me, this opportunity is incredible. But if it was to end tomorrow, then it was a great opportunity. And it's not going to be, I'm not going to be, would I be heartbroken? Yes, I'd probably be a bit upset, and it would be one of those sort of like, oh, that was a really great time, but you know what, it's like there is other things going on that I have to do, that I have to sort of keep going with. So
that's the thing about our careers, it's very cyclical, if you will. Like, you know what I mean? Opportunities come and go, opportunities come and go. So we ride the waves of really cool, and it could be years of a certain wave. Because like you were saying, even with your role, and you're still in this incredible role as a senior global artist, but one day, if and when it ended, you can look back and be like, God, these last 10 plus years of my life that I lived this way, and I'm on to my next chapter. It's a beautiful thing to just keep evolving as artists, always.
Exactly. And it's one of those, again, it's one of those things that, like, when I worked in store, and I worked in store for 7 years, and I loved, no word of a lie, I loved every single minute of it. Oh. And when I left and I moved into the training, oh my God, I cried. I was so sad because I wanted this. I wanted to move on. But at the same time, I was not able to let go of what I was going to be missing out on, which was my friends, my colleagues, my clients, and actually just helping people every day. And I loved that. I genuinely loved it. And I still love when someone messages me and says, sometimes people message me on or comment, I'm looking for such and such, or I'm using this, but it's not working. And I'm like, right, try it like this. And then they respond like, a couple of days later, like, oh my God, I did it and it works. Thank you so much. Like, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to, makeup can be so confusing for a lot of people. And my job is to really sort of help navigate through that path to make it really easy.
Which is great.
Sorry?
Streamlining it for them, which is awesome, because like a lot of people really don't. Sometimes we get wrapped around because we work around people that do what we do and understand what we do. Then when I get in a group of people that I'm like, oh my God, it isn't common sense to even just apply mascara like this. Like, it's so it's needed.
And I think then when I went into the training department, and I loved developing artists, I loved developing new talent, and seeing them progress and seeing them deliver incredible looks. And so when I then got the opportunity to be a senior artist, I was devastated because, like, yes, this is the role that I've always wanted for like 10 years prior, but actually now I'm not going to be doing this anymore. And so the thing is, for me, every step of the way, I've enjoyed every step. And I think that's what a lot of people don't do, is they don't enjoy the color of the grass that's in front of them. They're always looking over the fence, thinking that is what's going to make their lives better. And so and I've seen it so many times, talented artists that don't stop to smell the flowers, that they're looking beyond, and they're taking that, you know, that's what's going to make me complete. And then they get there and it's like, well, no, you're not. What else? Like, well, that, and they're chasing this ever never ending, you know, path, and it's impossible. And I think with, you know, I'm very fortunate when I started as a senior artist. I started with a colleague of mine called Claire, and we would do this thing every now and then, and I still do it, where we would look at each other and be like, we're backstage in Paris.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, you have to.
Yeah. And because it was like, and other people would be like, well, yeah, and you were here last season and the season before that and the season before that. It's like, yeah, I know. But if this was to all end, and if this was to be pulled out from under me and no longer are we going to go to Paris, it's like, I wouldn't be, yes, I'd be heartbroken, I'd be sad, but I've taken moments to really connect to what this moment is. And it's the same. It's like to be able to sit here and say that I've worked on this and this, and I've seen these people in real life, and I've been to this country, and this country. You can get very comfortable in the rhythm of Fashion Week, of being in Paris and being in Milan. Being in London and being in Milan and being in Paris and being there, and just that it becomes second nature. And it's like, no, it's not. Like, very, very, very
normalized, and you're like, this actually isn't normal. And to the average, to be honest, makeup artist, it's not even an opportunity that they'll ever touch. No. So it is still very much an extraordinary opportunity, even though people are like, yeah, I do it every season. But honey, there are people not ever touching a season. So
exactly. And you think, like, how lucky are we? How lucky are we that we, not even that we're a makeup artist that is able to do this, because like you say, there is thousands of makeup artists that are never even going to sniff ticket to Paris. But not just that, but also how lucky are we to actually just be a makeup artist? Because like, I see people getting to work in a suit looking bored, and yes, I'm the one that looks a fool because I'm dragging cases and backpacks and, like, you know, got stuff under my arm, and I'm just, you know, probably, and if it's the end of the day, then I've got, you know, shit on my face and like lipstick on my forehead, you know, like, you know, and they were looking like, you know, oh God, look, you're just taking up too much space. It's like, because I'm going off to a photo studio where I'm going to have a really fun, creative day doing some makeup and getting some great images. Whereas you are on your way to work to sit behind a desk, looking forward to the 1 o'clock time when you can go to the local sandwich shop and get, you know,
it's
cheese sandwiches. Like,
what an exciting life.
Yeah.
It's a gift. Me and my girlfriend would talk about that all the time. I was like, you have to realize, like you're saying, even just being an artist, again, one of so many people never, ever, and I never realized that at the time, which I guess is a good thing, just being younger, and like you would say, and kind of having that young naiveness about you, where you have that adrenaline, that passion is just riding and really fiery. I never understood, and I kind of took it for granted that, like, why wouldn't you do something that you love? Why wouldn't you follow your dreams and the things that you want to do, no matter how hard it is? But a large mass population of people just go and stick to what they're told they think they're supposed to be doing, and they do not venture that way.
But do you think it's because, like, what is it? What was it about you? What was it about?
I think.
What is it? Was it sort of embedded in you from childhood? Is it something you've learned? Is it something you just naturally had, that you saw your place in this planet in a more specific place than anyone else? Because I wonder whether it is that question
A little
of,
bit of all of it, to be honest, though, when all the things you're mentioning, because at a very young age, I think, when you start discovering like, oh, your parents throw you into sports, they throw you into theater, they throw you into whatever activity, you start being like, what is this kid like? What do they
yeah,
do? What are they good at? So you slowly start picking up the pieces as you go. And I think if, you have a good team around you, it's kind of even like now as an adult, you keep good company, you have a solid environment. I think it does fuel a lot of your upbringing and what you get to have experiences and what you're being told is possible and what's
yeah,
the representation for you to be like, oh, I can do that. I mean, I'm lucky. My mom's an artist, so she was very
yeah,
supportive, right? It always comes up somebody maybe somewhere. You do get the often small towners where they had a big dream and they just, venture off. And that's a story we hear too. It's like, no, I just knew. And I think
yeah,
sometimes people are just born with innate abilities that no matter the fear or what they have to do to persevere, they're going to do it. And I just think that's something that's built in you, like superstars, or you know what I mean? They just have this thing that's in their brain that they can't stop until they come to fruition of what they're really imagining. So a
yeah.
little bit of all of it, but I do think you need support as well along the way, because I think we've all had a moment or two or three in our career where we're like, I can't do it. I can't do
Yeah.
it. I'm down on myself. I have too much self-doubt. Maybe it's not worth it. Maybe I do need to do a career switch. It's not making me the money I thought it would be making me. So you start to really, overthink it rather
Yeah.
than pounding the pavement. I was lucky enough. I went to the Makeup Forever Academy, and my teachers would constantly tell me, makeup artistry, you guys choosing this career, it is not a short-term quick success thing. It is truly about the journey and
Yeah.
building, because your caliber of artistry grows, your experience grows, and it just takes time. So you
Yeah.
have to ride out that time. You got to put in your time. So I just think a lot of it will come back to that too. You just really got to give it your all if you really
You
want it.
do. Yeah. And I think it's funny you say about that with college, because for me, I had a
Yeah.
time frame, and I said to myself, like, I want to get my first paycheck
Mm.
from a job
Yep.
within 5 years. I gave myself the reality of the world that I
Right.
was going into,
Real.
which was working as a makeup artist in London, which is like,
And I don't even know that game. So that's you
no.
that whole experience. I have no idea how it's like that doing that. No.
I think the thing is, when you, certainly fashion capitals, it's harder.
It is.
Um, but for London is such a creative epicenter of things. We're very isolated from Europe. We're an island, so we're
Right.
literally our own thing. And because of that, we tend to be sort of, and we also we have this ideology of a tortured, penniless artist. So therefore, we don't go for the commercial aspect that you get in Milan or in New York. And so there is this, this ideology that you can be sort of tortured and pained and penniless and a creative,
And that's
so
good. And that's
they're
it's honorable, right? It's like, oh, you did that.
very, you
Like, wow.
make money, ugh, who are
Yeah,
you?
you're
You
not
can
a
pay your
real
bills
artist.
at the end of the
Yeah,
month, forget it, you know. You haven't got ribs showing,
yeah, yeah.
well,
You
who
don't
are
want to
you?
make it. Yeah.
Exactly. So it is one of those things, but then you've got everyone else from all over the world coming to London because of that reason. And so it is really, really hard. But I gave myself 5 years,
Yeah.
and I got my first paycheck from doing a makeup job after after 3 years. So therefore,
At all in the three, it took
sorry?
it was one check that you were waiting on. You didn't ever get paid up until the third year.
Yep. Well,
Wow.
as in, like I was getting paid, but most of the time when I was getting paid, it was kind of it was either being taken away from me because it was being paid for, images being printed, because
Sure.
back then it's not all digital. So when I started, it was, you had to go to, oh God, I can't even remember what it was called. It was like it was the big photography photo printing lab, and you would go with your big 35 mil and you would hand it over and say, I want this one printed, and they would print it out, and you would go back 2 days later and you'd get this thing, and you'd put it inside your portfolio, and you would screw the binds down. And
you had to have a large image,
yeah,
a physical
that
book.
was what it was.
God, we
You
take
know,
it for granted.
yeah. So, but it was like, so most of the time when I was getting money, like it wasn't enough, and it wasn't doing. But it was like
essentially all the time.
Yeah, but it was, and it was also like a lot of the time I was doing a lot of free work. I was doing a hell of a lot of free work.
Same.
Or free work in exchange for, which is where I would never make any money. And then all of a sudden I got this job where they wanted me to do makeup for a shoot, and they were going to pay me, and I got paid like tuppence. It was such a small amount, but I didn't care. In my world, I had hit my target, I had moved on, and I am now a credible makeup artist. Yeah, you know, and it was weird because no one else around you knows, unless they're in the industry, they don't know. So my brother, like, I remember my older brother saying to me, like, as soon as I graduated and I was sort of doing some free jobs here, and you know, doing stuff for local, like, small, you know, independent things, and I remember going home at Christmas, and he was just like, so why aren't you doing Vogue? And I'm like, what? Well, why aren't you like, look, I opened up Vogue, and there was all these models with makeup on their faces. Like, why aren't you doing that? And it's like, you don't get it. No. You don't get that. Just because you got a degree, just because you have, you know, education, doesn't mean anything. It's now is the hard work of just being at the right place at the right time and saying yes nonstop, and never, like, I didn't, no word of a lie, I didn't have a holiday. I didn't have a day's holiday for 7 years.
Yeah.
Because even though I was working part-time at Mac, any holiday, we get like in the UK, we get 4 weeks holiday, paid holiday. I know. I love saying it to Americans because they're like,
what is that even? What is even maternity?
Yeah, so we get 4 weeks holiday, paid holiday, and but that's in relevance to how many days you work. So I was working part-time, so I only got those many days each week for 4 weeks. But anytime I took holiday, it was because I was doing a job. I needed time off because I needed to do a photo shoot, or I needed to travel somewhere to get something to do a photo shoot, or I was doing a video shoot and I needed more days off. And any days off I had, I was working, and I was switching my days with other people, trying to fit as many work jobs in as possible. And so for the first 7 years, I didn't have a day. I didn't literally have a holiday, because that's not what I wanted to do.
Right.
This was what I wanted to do.
I'm here, right.
Yeah. And not everyone's going to do that. Not everyone.
But you know what's weird? I feel like your generation, beyond, and just like other past, and even mine, when I first started, I came up in, like, you're gonna laugh, but it was like 2012. Like when I got out of school, and that was when I was in it. And I did the same thing. I used to tell my mom all the time, I can't, you know, I'll come home literally for the day, but I gotta go right back to New York, because if a job comes up, I gotta say yes, I gotta be ready. Everything was making it and building my career. And I sometimes wonder, and I don't know now if it's because I'm in a little bit more comfortable of a space with it, that I'm a little bit more willingly to say no for my own mental health or physical health. You know what I mean? You kind of get to that kind of caliber, if you will. Just more client is a little bit easier of a flow. Your network's there a bit more. You have a little bit more, I guess, experience behind you. So it's not as scary when you say no. You don't feel
that's the thing. You're not
falling apart.
Yeah. And also, if you say no and you lose that client because they then get someone else who they then actually prefer,
right?
You're not in that sort of desperate stage, because you know, well, there's another client that will come around the corner.
Yes, like I'm okay.
You're resilient enough to know that this isn't the only thing. There is this one as well.
Yeah, working with a lot of the upcoming artists, I'm going to tail back a little bit to Glow Up. Do you feel like when you're around all of them, does it have that sensation of we want it, we want it, we want it? Or is it 5 out of 10 of them that really want it? Or do we feel like it's a collective, they're really all there to pound the pavement? Or do some of them go, oh, okay, maybe I didn't think I was gonna have to work this hard to do
It's really
it,
interesting. Yeah,
you
that's
know?
a really good question. It's kind of, I would say it's a bit of everything. You've got the one thing that they all have is a passion for makeup. They
That's
love makeup.
You can see it. You
Yeah.
feel it
But
watching
what a
it.
lot of times, well, the things that a lot of times, um, what they don't know is actually, and that's what I've had outside of the show is I've had a lot of parents that have come up to me and said, you know, I, I had one dad come up to me and say that Glow Up was the show that he would watch with his daughter, like, you know, because she was upstairs doing her face on for YouTube or would be on a laptop watching TV. But when Glow Up was on, they would come downstairs and they would watch it on telly together. And he said, so thank you for giving me my daughter back for an hour each week. But at the same time, he said, I'm not so scared anymore. I'm not so scared that she is doing something that there is no future in.
Yes.
You have shown me that she can become a makeup artist that can afford to put a roof over her head, food on a table, and actually exist in film, in TV,
Look at all these things. Yeah.
theater, in fashion, you know, or even just blogging. Like,
Right.
she's
Full
doing something that she can make some money out of.
Right.
That's not as traditional as my generation, but I see that there is potential in it.
Yeah.
And if anything, that was why the show was so important to myself and Val, was because we saw all these new artists coming in that wanted the instantaneous recognition that I am special and I am great and this is what I can do. And they wanted to be famous instantly. But we knew that that wasn't the case. And it was like, right, how do we, this is a perfect opportunity to bring the Instagram world where
you guys
they don't necessarily understand the heritage of the fashion industry or the makeup industry. But the makeup industry doesn't necessarily understand the importance and the value of these new Instagram people. So for us, it was a way of bringing the two together. Now, out of that, you have got some that have gone to really push their Instagram. That's what they want to do. Others have tasted the water. That's what they wanted, and it's not for them. So they've decided to go somewhere else. You know, but then you've got others that really embrace it and want to know how to, you know, get the next step. But it's like with anything. And I say this, and this, I know this may sound really hard. If you don't necessarily know the industry, it can be quite harsh to say this, but I would do this thing with a lot of the artists, the new artists that I would sort of, you know, during training sessions, I would go in and do a little talk about my job and what I do, and ask, you know, get them to ask questions and, you know, give them the truth and stuff. And I would always say, right, who wants to be a senior artist? And, you know, 9 times out of 10, they'd all put their hands up, you know. And then I'd say, right, now look at how many people want to be a makeup artist now, senior artist. Now, how many senior artists are there in the UK? 1. So.
And it's me, and I'm not leaving.
No. Yeah, it's me. I ain't going anywhere, so.
So all of you have a good side. No.
Enjoy your life. Jog on. But no, but no, it's like, you know, so you all want to be a senior artist, but there's only one position.
Yes.
So, but think about how many times we've done this class where they've all said they wanted to be a senior artist.
Right.
So we've got sort of, you know, all of you in this class want to be a senior artist, but how many other classes are saying the same thing? Yeah. So the competition is real, and it's not that, I don't think it's necessarily that my generation or your generation has a stronger work ethic or more sort of power driven. I just think the opportunities now are bigger, so there's more people in the pie. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that everyone is going to make it, that the more people in the pie, the more opportunities there are. No, that's not going to be the case. in every generation there'll be that small handful that rise to the top. It just means out of the pie with more people in it, the same number is still going to rise. So if you want to be one of the few that rise with it, you've got more competition around you to fight and to be seen and to be heard and keep your hand up higher, say yes to that job, you know, and just keep going.
Yeah, you have to. You literally must. That's incredible. Okay, I'm going to switch gears on you a little bit, Dominic. I kind of want to know, because you had told us a little bit earlier, I wanted to touch on your role as a global senior artist. You kind of told us about how that came about-ish, so I kind of want to go into that a little bit. But I also really want to know, for those that don't know, what that even entails. What does that job even, what are the actual, what are you doing with it?
I mean, if you know, could you let me know? Because
listen,
I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't know.
No, it's a really difficult role to explain. Yeah. The easiest way to sort of explain it is it's a role that's kind of throughout the world. So each region has, a handful of people that do this job. We kind of the insider information that connects the industry with the brand. So MAC was built on the idea of being a makeup artist's makeup brand. And so by having artists that work within the brand, we're able to almost maintain a level of authenticity within the brand for the makeup artist almost. So, brands will bring out an eyeshadow palette and they're great. But when we bring out a makeup palette, it's come from an idea of
the artist standpoint, right?
They need something because they want to sell product, because this isn't, we always kind of remind ourselves this isn't a charity, this is a business,
right.
So we need to sort of create something that people want, but it's like, well, how do we differentiate between all the other brands? And we do that through artistry. So for instance, the eyeshadow palettes that we've got came about from a conversation that we had during Paris Fashion Week, where we were, we have eyeshadow palettes and we're talking about eyeshadow palettes and we use eyeshadow palettes. But then it was like, but what is it about the current eyeshadow palettes that maybe are missing the mark to what I need? So then we kind of rewrote the eyeshadow palette rule, and then we took it back, and then they brought it back to us and we kind of changed it again, and then we sent it back, and in the end we came out with what I consider three amazing workable eyeshadow palettes that kind of work for consumers but also work for artists, and that's kind of really what it is. It's a lot of product testing, it's a lot of product sort of discussion. It's it's being almost like the all-seeing oracle of what is going on within the makeup world. So when marketing kind of say, we want to do this, and you're like, yes, that's great, or you might want to change it, but then at the same time I do development with artists. I do sort of educational things. I do a lot of social media. That was always kind of there in the background, but obviously, during lockdown, it kind of increased.
To forefront,
more so.
You did mention when you were backstage your role when you had worked with Val back in the days too, and you were like, I was there as a MAC. What were you doing specifically when you go, let's say, backstage for runway, and as a global artist for MAC? And I mean, MAC obviously takes care of a lot of runway and fashion week. So when you go specifically for teams, are you there actually putting your hands to work? Are you overseeing product use, or you're helping I guess kind of give me a little bit of tea on that. What would be
it's kind of a bit of, again, it's
you have all of it.
So from the ground level, during Fashion Week, my role is a makeup artist, part of the MAC team. So when MAC do a show, it will be built up of there'll be the key artist, do it, who's designing it, and maybe 1, 2, 3 of her sort of assistants, or sorry, their assistants.
Yeah.
Then there's the Mac team that then help to, you know, reproduce the work.
Yes.
And the Mac team will be made up of senior artists like myself,
Yes.
national artists, which is sort of the role just, you know, below. It's basically a senior artist, but just internal to that region instead of going overseas.
Yeah.
But then there's also, you know, in each region we have, in the UK we call it a pro team, which is the best of the best within the store. And so that's what
within each literal consumer store, like whether
yeah.
your little
Yeah, so then you've got sort of, that's the Mac team, but then there's also freelancers that we throw in as well, because we always want to try and incorporate freelancers so that it's not just a Mac, you know.
Yeah, like these are our forefront. It's nice that you guys do that. You're very obviously Mac is always for the artist, so it's nice that they constantly create those opportunities for their artists in the store. Well.
I mean, you know, to be brutally real, we can't necessarily do it without freelancers, but we can't do it without the Mac people at the same time.
Right.
You know, there's my role when I'm then part of the team. My role is to do makeup.
Yeah.
But my role is also to work alongside those pro team artists to make sure that they're not sort of, you know, thrown to the wolves, that we're there to support. But I'm also there to work with the freelancers to make sure they've got the right product that they can use for my kit if needed.
Yeah.
You know, so that's my role. But then my other role might be on the job, what we call a test artist. So my role as a test artist would be that the makeup artist has gone to the test with their assistant, but then I will go at the same time, and I will go with my full kit, and I open it up, and so someone might say, right, I need to look at anything that's pink. And so you go through your kit and you take all the pink stuff out and you hand it over on a tray. Or they may say, you know, right, I don't have any makeup in front of me.
No, you were so right.
Yeah. So we want to use this eye pencil.
Yes.
But it's by a different makeup brand. And so then they'll say, so I need an alternative. So then I will go through and find the MAC alternative. In some cases, I can't make it. I can't, we don't have it. So then I'll have to make it. So for instance, there was a show for Moschino when we did the Barbie, the Barbie collection years ago. Yeah, and it was a Barbie pink lip that we needed to do. And so the key artist was...
Oh, I'm thinking a different one. I'm thinking the full body paint. I already did.
Oh yeah, no, there was that as well.
I'm thinking that. I'm like,
that one. I worked on that one with that was a fun time. But yeah, the Barbie collection, when they did the Barbie collection, we recreated basically, you know, model-sized Barbies and the pink. So So the key artist was like, right, went through my lipstick palette and I showed her all the pinks, and she's like, I like that one, but I want it in matte. And it was like a sheer glossy lip, and I was like, oh damn. So then I used the lip mix colors and then sat there just mixing up variations to kind of match that, but in a matte version.
You're a whole chemist. What is this role and everything?
So then you have to create the products and then you present. I mean, there's been so many times I've been in my hotel room in Paris, just covered in newspaper to try and protect the room. But it's like I'm sitting there pouring body paint and drops of this and shaking, mixing mass, because you can't just make enough. You need to make enough for
the whole, all these
for everybody. So
I don't think people realize that.
So it can be like days of mixing and creating, you know, and all sorts of stuff. So, and then when I'm on the show, my job is to make sure that the key artist does not have any stress. So I will be, you know, I would deliver all the information to the team prior, that I will send out all the photos, make sure, you know, go and steal all the product from the shop and bag it all up and give it out to everyone. And then I'll be, you know, because I've been at the test, I know the look. So I will then sort of go around just giving little additional bits of information to make sure that the team can deliver it, so that the team deliver the best makeup, the key artist doesn't get stressed, and everyone has a good time.
Like truly, like this, you're like a wedding planner slash like, you're the run a show. It's wild. You have a lot of, I feel like with that role, there's very slim room for error. When you're like, you know what I mean? I feel like a lot can fall back on you. One thing misses or it's not proper. Have you ever had something in the past where you're like, oh, that was the biggest worst. Really? Have you have off the top of your head, you're like, that was pretty bad for me?
The best is when the key artist changes their mind after the test, but doesn't tell you.
No.
Until they're standing in front of everyone and they're like, that's not what we discussed.
No, oh my God.
Yeah.
Sweating.
And I'm then looking at the first assistant, and the first assistant is looking at me like, I didn't know that was going to happen either. And you're like,
oh, and you just have to kind of take it. I think people don't realize you really do just have to still keep calm, and now you have a job to do. So it's like,
there was this one situation, one situation where it was a brow, and it was all shades of cool colors to work on the individual until so I went running around grabbing as many cool colored eye pencils, eye products, eyeshadows, you name it, anything I could get on a brow that was cool, I got. It turned up and it was like, I handed over and they were like, yeah, but what was the color of the pencil you gave me when we did the test? And I was like, oh, it was out of the wad. I was like, this one. And they were like, and how many of that have we got? And I'm like, well, there's like 3 of this and there's 3 of that and there's 3, because there's multiples. And they were like, so you have 3 pencils for 15 artists. And I was just like, no, I didn't.
Oh my God.
I've got like 30 pencils for 15 people, but you changed it. You changed your mind. And it was, you know, but that's my job, is to stand in the way of the team.
Yeah.
Get the hits. Get the hit. Take it. You know.
Oh my God.
And just, you know, it's almost like, you know, your team are behind you, and they're kind of then running around trying to find that one color. Oh, well, I've got one, and I've got one, and I've got one.
Yeah, they pull through. I was gonna say, because in that moment when you're live on the scene, you can't. There's no time to leave and now go collect all these pencils. I have
Especially not at 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning in Paris. A, when shops don't open on a Sunday, and B, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Like
we can't do this.
They ain't waking up until about 1. So it's like, oh, but no, there's been a few situations like that where, you know, or the best was when, this is one thing I learned very early on, was in my kit. I was with an artist and they wanted an orange lip pencil.
Okay. Yes.
And it's like, okay, but orange is not a common lip pencil color.
No, I literally use eyeliner pencils half the time.
Yeah. So I did. I brought out the one. Well, I think we had like 3 different types of pencil, and I then saw her just sort of like. She noticed something in my pencil bag, that one limited edition pencil that was, you know, limited like 3 years ago, so there was no way of getting it.
Gone.
And it was like, oh, what's that? Oh, that's the one we want.
No.
And I'm like, you can't have it, but you can't tell them you can't have it.
Isn't that
There's
crazy?
no such word as no. So it was then sort of like phoning around, emailing as many people as I can, getting as many chances of anyone potentially having it at the back of their drawer. No one did. So we had to just fake it with something else and hope no one noticed. But I learned then, only have things that you can guarantee you can grab multiples of.
That's a good note, truly, because I mean, people, I mean, amongst even just the working artists, aside from the global senior artists, what I'm told and like my experience, I feel like I can't even ever even validate. I'm a Broadway girl. So it's like my runway experience is like, let's count like 5 random shows in New York Fashion Week that I've done. So my kit in my mind behind it of even being prepared, I am not briefed enough at all to know like what you need to condense in this little tiny setup area to like have all the things. But that's a really good tip. I think a lot of people can take away from that, at least for this position, you know?
Well, it's like, you know, when we work with sort of new artists and they, you know, they come backstage at Fashion Week and they bring their kit and you know, you're like, honey, if you do not have, well, actually, no, it's not if you don't have, it's like, you do not need to bring limited life product.
Right. No.
Like if it's a discontinued product, if it's limited life, it is not going to be used.
No.
And if it is used, we would have found some for you anyway.
No.
So, you know, with your kit, you've always got to make sure that it's not sort of a one shoe fits all. Like everyone's kit is different. Everyone's kit is unique to how they want to work.
Right.
But the one thing you always want to make sure, especially for Fashion Week, is that it is replaceable. You do not want to bring something that you can't get hold of just in case someone sees it and wants it and you need to replace it, you need to get multiples of, or it's something it might get stolen or it might get lost or your kit doesn't come off the aeroplane and you need to replace the whole kit. What do you do? Well, you can't replace it if it's all limited stuff that's decades old.
Be wise.
You keep it updated. So yeah, it's, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've got 3 different kits in my
different things. Yes, I transferred out because I'm very like, I'm a low maintenance makeup artist. Like I really don't at this point. I used to have a lot of things. I've just learned what my essentials are and then just pop out for certain jobs and being like, well, this is what it's going to be. I don't need all my glitter and my shine and my this when I'm going on a commercial set. Like it's just not, or certain things, whenever I'm doing corporate shoot, for example. So I would space it out. But somebody once told me for runway, I forget who it was. I think this woman artist way back when, and she was like, you know, one of the things that she just always, I don't know why it stuck in my head, was to always have a large range of different variations of black liner, whether that be a liquid pen, a sharp pen, a pencil, a kohl, she just was like, have any amount of range of a black liner. And I just always stuck in my head. And I was like, different situations, like waterproof, non-waterproof. I was like, sure, that would fit a lot of scenarios, I'm sure.
But I mean, that's the nuances of a makeup artist is, you know, it's like, I always sort of, to some people who aren't in the makeup industry or you know, don't understand it, you have to kind of find relationships and you know, corresponding sort of scenarios. So I always sort of say it's a bit like, you know, it's a bit like having a drill, but only one drill bit, you know. And if you said that to my dad, he would like, well, you can't function. You can't. You're screwed. You know. And it's like, yes. So exactly. Telling me I've got too many brushes.
But it's honestly, especially in this day and age, I just feel like if you're gonna have too much of anything, it has to be a brush. At this point, and in COVID times, honey, give me all the brushes because I don't want to have time to have to switch out between all different clients, or if I'm on set and I have 3 different actors, it's like, okay, I need to be able to make a mini kit for each of you essentially now at this point. It's wild.
And the thing is that, you know, but it is such a, I don't know, like with my kit, it's like it's difficult to explain, I guess, when you've got sort of it does this.
Yeah.
You know? Like 1 minute I have literally stripped it back to, you know, a concealer and a lip balm, and that's it. Next stage, I am dragging airbrush machines around, you know, London with me because I'm in that state of mind. But I think, you know, one thing, and I was very much an organizer when it comes to my kit. So everything is in a bag, everything is labeled, everything is I know where everything is. But then, you know, so unlike me, I decided to change my organization to be sort of more function instead of sort of categories. So then I created the everything bag. So it's like I turn up, dump this on, unzip it, open it up, and it's there. Everything is there.
Yeah, that's
foundation,
my
concealer, contour, brows.
Yep.
You know, you name it, it's all in there. You know, and I know I can pretty much do anything.
Anything from this. Yeah, I have a lot of people that are like, this is my a lot of people call it their day playing kit, just because it's like, you know, it has anything for any situation. It has a range of skin tones and powders, and it's, you know, it's like the all go bag, which I love. That's almost every bag in my house and every drawer in my house is, it's an everything drawer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a new thing for me, and coming from having sort of, you know, more of an organized, you know, very ritualistic way of having my kit and displaying it and laying it, to then go to this is, you know, if I'm honest, if I'm completely honest, I actually got my mentor to do it first.
Yeah.
So I tested it out with my mentor, with my mentee rather, and got them to, I was like, so how is your kit? And they were like, oh, it's a bit like this. It's like, have you ever thought about doing an everything kit? Some people enjoy it, some people don't. I think it's worth trying it out. So I made them do it for like 6 months, a year, to see. And then at the end, it's like, so how did you go? Oh, I love it. Great. Well, I'm going to do that next.
That's called leadership.
Yeah.
You knew.
Yeah. It's called leadership, or throwing them under the bus.
Yeah, just let them figure it out. That's what it's a part. They have to learn somehow.
And if I like the results, I'll steal it. So yeah, it was an interesting one.
That is brilliant. Dominic, you have given me so many wonderful gems in this conversation. I really appreciate you giving us all of your insight, your experience from one way to the globe as a senior artist. It's like all the things you're doing, you're just a wonderful soul. And I thank you for so much information and stories. That was wonderful. I'm going to hit you with one last question.
Yes.
So, and just following you on Instagram and seeing you, obviously products are like you, and being in the role of a global senior artist, you're very well-rounded in products. So if you were sent and stranded on an island, what would be your 3 MAC products you would bring with you? I know. I never can answer this. I'm always like, but it's a brow day or it's a lip day.
Yeah.
You're on an island.
Oh, God.
What I feel like for you. He's like, no, can't be done.
I think it would be Prep and Prime essential oil.
Okay.
Which is something, it's one of those things when you first start out and people say, what's your favorite product? And you're like, glitter.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
Started, yeah.
Yeah, or that really ugly sort of drugstore lipstick that I bought because it was just really nice and I've never touched it since, you know. But no, when you kind of develop a sort of a slightly, I don't want to say refined, a slightly more boring idea of, but you realize actually these are your essentials. So I think it would definitely be Prep and Prime essential oil, because it is the best thing for skin under foundation. It's the best thing.
I love an oil.
Foundation. It's incredible mixed with foundation. I use it on the, like, oh God, I use it everywhere. Mixed with highlighter is unreal. Yeah. So yeah, definitely Prep and Prime essential oil.
Love that.
Then I would probably have to go with False Lash Maximizer.
Okay.
So it's like a primer for lashes, but I use it in my brows.
I'm impressed. All right, I'll give you that. I just don't, and it's at the clear bottle. Is it that clear? And it's like the little gel, or am I thinking something? See,
no, it's actually, it's like, it's in a white tube, and it's a mascara primer.
Yes.
But it adds fibers to your lashes to create a thicker, fuller lash before you put mascara on. But I use it in my brows and it dries clear and it leaves them bushy, textured, and I put them through and then I blow dry them up and it kind of
You're
goes.
lying to me. You do not blow dry them up. Do you literally?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I might need to try that because I do absolutely nothing. People hate me because I literally will take my spoolie, my mascara, I'll hit a little hairspray and I'll be like, okay, bye. I just don't.
Yeah, but blow dry it. Use a hairdryer just to sort of set them when you're brushing hairspray through.
I'm gonna try.
Because otherwise, what happens is they will fall. So you set them. So yeah, that and then something fun. You know what? I'm gonna say a bottle of 3D glitter.
Yes.
3D silver glitter, because you know what? Probably by week 3, I would be sort of on this island. I would have gone slightly nuts. I would have finally got the body shape I've always wanted, and I would just
trying to show it off.
pour it all over me and just be running around, just like, oh. Then I discover that I'm not on an island, that I'm actually on a holiday camp, and I'm just scaring the locals. But
yeah, like a walking disco ball. That's fine.
Yeah, but I'd be using it to like reflect the light when passing ships.
Exactly. See?
So it's.
What do they say about makeup artists? We know exactly.
Creative. We're problem solvers. We are.
We know what's going on here. Dominic, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you sitting with me. It was a wonderful episode. I hope
it's been a pleasure.
One day get to meet you in person. My God. I have an Ashley, my dear friend who obviously connected us, did, and she's obsessed. And I was like, I know, I would love to meet this man. So
I'm obsessed with Ashley. She is so fun.
She's a love bug.
Yeah. So are you. Thank you so much, Rachel.
You're welcome. Well, we will see you hopefully soon, and take care. Have a beautiful holiday. And guys, we're tagging all Dominic stuff below. So check him out. Follow his journey on Instagram, his website, on Glow Up Season 3 when it comes out. And we will see you guys next time. Yay! Bye, guys.